When we think of the most badass Imperial Guard regiments in all of 40k, the most common answer is the Death Corps of Krieg, for good reason. It seems to be the most popular faction within the Astra Militarum, but it wasn't always like this. Back when I first started playing 40k in the 4th edition, the fan-favorite regiment seemed to be the Armageddon Steel Legion, and what these two regiments demonstrate is how within 40k, two factions that share a very similar appearance or a theme can be surprisingly different from one another. We've covered the Death Corps of Krieg in multiple 40 Facts videos. You can check them out in a playlist that we have on the channel. I'll put a link above. But what makes the Steel Legion unique is their specialized method of waging war. The troopers of the Armageddon Steel Legion are particularly skilled in the art of deploying mechanized infantry and have become specialists at battling the Greenskin Menace. These warriors also make fine assault troops for fighting in urban and hive city environments, as well as heavy industrialized zones, chemical sumps, and just about any form of trench battlefield. Their equipment and experience with such accurate environments make them invaluable for trudging through all sorts of polluted or otherwise noxious wastelands, from underhives filled with the toxic residue of ancient atomic generators, to ruin-filled swamps rife with hallucinogenic flora, quicksand, and near-invisible pockets of lethal gas. And with all that said, I want to welcome you guys back to another 40 Facts about the 40k universe. I am your host, Gersh1, and today we're going to be talking about the Armageddon Steel Legion. If you guys are new to the channel, we post Warhammer 40k lore videos every single day. What I try to do is I create a video with a lore portion in the beginning, a hobby portion in the middle, and then a Q&A where I answer the comments that you guys left off in yesterday's video. Today, for the hobby portion, I'm actually going to be starting a trench battlefield. So if you're interested in terrain building, this is an entire 4x6 board. It's going to take me a while, but I get pretty far today. If you guys have any suggestions for other topics in the future or any questions about the 40k universe, comment down in the comment section below, because like I said, I'm going to respond to them or react to them tomorrow. Don't forget to hit the like button, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. But with all that said, let's get into 40 facts on the Armageddon Steel Legion. It is the planet of Armageddon that created the unique nature of the Steel Legion. Since the age of the Imperium, this hive world has been one of the most polluted planets in the Segmentum Solar. Outside of the massive hive cities, Armageddon is filled with corrosive toxins and industrial pollution to the point that if a man were to breathe in its natural air for any extended period of time, his lungs would shrivel up and rot. This central manufacturing hub has been poisoned by millennia of heavy industrial output, much of which is more ancient than the Imperium itself. Now, the Imperial war machine's constant demand for more materials has plunged Armageddon deeper into an unequaled industrial behemoth. Not only are las guns, vehicles, and war machines produced at an incredible rate, but they are of exemplary quality, honed to perfection after millions of iterations. It is these circumstances that created the Steel Legion. Since their victory at the Battle of Ullanor, the Imperial Guardsmen that have been raised on this world are trained and equipped with some of the best war gear. The extremely industrialized nature of Armageddon means that a far higher proportion of its regiments are mechanized infantry. It is for this reason that these mobile regiments are given the moniker Steel Legion, sometimes also referred to as Ironheads. And since Armageddon is one of the foremost manufacturing plants for chimeras, the Steel Legion has made this transport its staple weapon. Although only a standard armor personnel carrier, the chimera also mounts a hull-mounted heavy bolter or a heavy flamer, and 6 mounted las guns on the vehicle's flanks, which can be fired from the passenger compartment, allowing the infantry inside to fire at the enemy. It can carry up to 12 guardsmen, 6 heavy weapon teams, or 6 Ogrins. The Chimera also has amphibious capabilities, allowing it to take part in naval assaults or overcome watery obstacles like swamps, rivers, or even flooded trenches. These highly mobile forces are skilled at rapidly redeploying convoys of vehicles to engage the enemy. Often, the Steel Legion's vehicles simply overrun the enemy's front lines, allowing the infantry to dismount and sweep the area clear of the aggressor. The troops themselves are drafted from amongst the cramped populations of Armageddon's massive hive cities, where only the ruthless survive the ceaseless and brutal gang wars. Many of the Armageddon Underhive's most notorious gangs are conscripted directly into the Imperial Guard, without the need of any additional training, their ruthless skills proving more than adequate. All soldiers within the Steel Legion wear protective clothing such as trench coats, gloves, and visors, as to minimize the exposure to their world's polluted atmosphere. Possibly the most iconic piece of gear for the Steel Legion is the rebreather unit carried by every single troop. These units are capable of filtering out the worst effects of any airborne poison, and are the primary reason that many of the Steel Legion guardsmen have survived during battles upon the Ash Wastes. Senior officers have rebreathers that are often shaped into a mask similar to that of a grinning skull. And the guardsmen are not the only thing protected from the venomous environment within these regiments. Throughout the Steel Legions, all vehicles are fully enclosed and possess airtight seals to ward passengers from the foul and acidic atmosphere encountered by the convoys traversing the Ash Wastes. And although the regiments of the Armageddon Steel Legion have been spread out all throughout the galaxy, their biggest war is on their home planet, against war boss Godskull Magorok Thraka, or at least the remnants of his third war for Armageddon. And the great and epic saga of the Third War for Armageddon is a video all on its own. I have a 40 facts video on it, and I'll probably create a new one in the future, a better one, because the old one kind of sucks. But for right now, what I wanted to do is transfer over to the hobby portion of the video. And actually, I've been creating a terrain board for trench warfare. Now, this isn't Armageddon, because Armageddon itself, not every single area of Armageddon was trench warfare, but I'm pretty sure that some of the Ash Wastes had this. So let's build some trench terrain. The first step in building a terrain board as big as this is to figure out what the base is going to be, and for me the base is 1/4 inch MDF board. I bought this at my local hardware shop and began marking my cut lines because I want 6 2x2 boards, which I will cut off camera with a simple circular saw. Once the pieces are cut, it's time to create a template that is the same width as each of the 6 pieces, so 2 feet, and 1¼ inch tall. Then I mark out the entry points of each of the trenches and my template is then cut. Now I can use this template when I'm cutting out the pink foam that I'll be using for the ground level of my trench board. It looks better, or it makes more sense on the actual video. Shout out to Mel the Terrain Tutor, I actually got this idea from him. Go check out his channel and subscribe and let him know that One Mind Syndicate sent you. And this template is used all the way around each side so that the 6 separate 2x2 boards can fit together perfectly regardless of the sides that they are on. Once that is done, it's time to draw on the trench network on the first board according to the blueprint, and then moving on to the following boards. Once the ground level blocks are cut according to the blueprints, as you can see here, I will dry fit the whole thing and make sure that everything fits correctly. I didn't actually like how tight some of these trench lines were, so I made some modifications by cutting into the pink foam a bit. Not simply reducing the ground level of the board, but actually adding another layer to the depth of the trench work by cutting down the pink foam. I'm using a hot wire foam cutter in this example, but you can also use a simple blade. And there you have it. You have a little ledge that gives your minis more room and gives them another level to stand on. Once you have everything cut, you want to make sure that every square fits right with every other square, meaning that your template worked and the entrances of the trenches fit together so they fall in line. If everything does fall to plan, it's time to glue the pieces to the board. While the glue is drying, I like to add weights to the top of the board, and in this situation I'm just using another terrain board that I had from a previous build to push down the drying pieces. On one of the boards I want to create a little ramp for the tanks and the other vehicles to go from the trenches to the ground floor, so to do that I drew out a square where the ramp should be according to the blueprint, and then I cut out the piece by using a wire foam cutter at an angle with the board so that I can get this result right here. Now using sandpaper, I'm going to clean off the grooves created by the foam cutter, simply just sand that down. Now that that's done, it's time to add some trench walls. I bought some corrugated scrapbook paper from my local hobby store. You don't have to buy this at the store, you could actually just get some basic trash cardboard pieces and rip off the top layer. You could also go to the US Postal Service. The flat rate boxes, those are excellent for this. Just rip off the top layer and you have the corrugated board. But then I cut them to size for my 1 inch tall trench work, and then I glued them onto the pink foam trench walls. Once the corrugated board is glued on, it's time to attach little toothpick boards that I cut down to size to act as the posts for the trench walls. Certain portions of the wall I want to cut out using my wire foam cutter because I want these areas to look like the entrance to the underground portion of the trench work. And using the previous sticks that I cut out down to size, I created a simple border around the entrance to the actual underground trench network. I'll expand on the tabletop mechanics to this part in a different video vlog, so stay tuned or subscribe if you haven't done so already. Some other entrances I got creative and used different shapes, like this empty tape roll. I think doing this on the dead end portions of the border is good because it makes the entrance look like a sewage or a drainage entrance to the tunnel. And this is all I have accomplished so far. More video vlogs are going to focus on this project. This project has been taking me quite a while, but the next portion is actually going to be building up the texture to the actual boards. As you guys can see from that last video, there are some additional things that I added, like chains, wires from my headphones, and like these like netting things. I'll talk more about it in the part 2 to this series. I can't promise you that the part 2 is going to come tomorrow or the next day, just because you have to remember that I have to complete 6 of these. So that's only one board with the walls complete. Then I have to do 5 more, and then once I get that done, then I'll continue on with the next step for all the boards. That way everything finishes at once, because that's really important, because if you finish one piece completely to finish the painting, what ends up happening is that you might get like some different color variations and stuff like that because you're using different materials. So subscribe to the channel to get part 2, and then eventually, probably towards the end of the year or when this project is done, I'll put a whole like a video specifically dedicated to how to build trench terrain or a trench terrain board. So if you just want to wait for that, you could also just wait for that. But who knows when it's going to happen. Now it's time to move on to the Q&A section of the video, so I'm going to be answering or responding to a lot of the comments that you guys left off in the 40 Facts and Lore on Mahor the Harvester, yesterday's 40 Facts video. If you guys have questions for me, whether it has to do with the Steel Legion, the actual terrain board, or anything else, just comment down in the comment section below and I'll answer them tomorrow. So this first question comes from S.A. Are there any famous Imperial Guard regiments that have turned to chaos, and what are the most famous / notorious Traitor Guardsmen regiments? So the first one that comes to mind is the Vraxian Traitor Militia. They're part of the Vrax War. We have a 40 Facts video on it. I'll put a link above. But then after that, the Thousand Sons, they used to fight alongside an expeditionary fleet which had Imperial Army soldiers specifically for the Thousand Sons, and they would guard Prospero. They obviously turned traitor when Prospero was destroyed, and they managed to get out. So you still have that. You have those traitors that didn't actually become Thousand Sons. They're just human traitors that are fighting, and that battle continues. So those are the two. I'll probably create a 40 Facts video on that second one soon. I don't think we have one out on the channel, but check out the Vraxian one. It's pretty interesting. Also, you have like different cults that infect Imperial Guard regiments that then turn traitor. I think they're like the Blood Pact is one of them. We have a series or a playlist on the actual channel, so check that out if you want to. Good question, though. Next question comes from Champ Styles. If Nurgle can infect Tyranids, would that mean that Nids can contract the Cackling moraine disease from the Biopipers? I answered this in a previous video. Yes, in theory, and it's kind of scary to think that Tyranids or like a Gene Stealer is like charging at you, about to kill you, and he's laughing the entire time. It's sadistic and crazy and scary. Next question comes from the big one. How come the show Grey's Anatomy doesn't have any Grey Knights in it? It's so boring. Why has it been on TV for so long? I don't know. A lot of the characters in that show have died off or have just been written out, and it's still going. I think COVID probably helped spur like a lot of attention to Grey's Anatomy, because I had completely forgotten about that series, and then like COVID happened, and then everybody's talking about how like, oh, they're portraying what's actually happening in the hospitals and stuff. But yeah, that's a show that is definitely it's kind of like House. I think it's like it's a roller coaster ride, but they're entertaining because that roller coaster ride has a climax towards the end. But yeah. Bunny Hop says, between the orcs getting a new codex and models, what do you think the orcs are missing? Orcs are missing nothing really. Like at this point, I think we just need, like, everything else is just extra. Like, it would be really nice to get some type of transport better than the trucks or the battle wagons, which the trucks and the battle wagons are still really, really good. The rocks or teleporters, because those were things in previous editions, and if they bring those back, I think that would be really awesome to have like a teleporter machine that you can like drop somewhere outside of like the enemy territory, and then orcs can just pop up from there, kind of like your orcs from reserve. That would be really cool. Or orc rocks. If you check out our 40 facts on orc rocks, I build a terrain piece for it, and I also talk about it, but they're pretty awesome because they are just drop pods. So having like orc drop pods as orc rocks would be awesome. Next question comes from Elias Raventi. What's your least favorite part of 40K lore? My least favorite part of 40K lore has to be the Titan Legions. Yeah, the Titan Legions. Just because their names are all like in Latin, and like they're supposed to be like honor, like it reminds me of knights and stuff like that, and I don't like that. And I'm never going to play a Titan on the battlefield ever. I'm probably never even going to play an Imperial Knight, let alone a Titan. So that part of 40K to me, that lower portion, it doesn't mean anything because I'm not going to see it on the tabletop. And that's where that huge difference is between all you guys that listen to us and love the lore but don't play the tabletop. There's a different mindset, I think. You guys absorb things and are more open to things, whereas like us tabletop players, for the most part, we like to look at it from the battlefield tabletop perspective. And it gets kind of annoying sometimes when like you are on the tabletop and you know that a squad of Gretchen could technically take down a squad of Space Marines, but in the lore that will never happen. But yeah, I think Titans and the Titan Legions are they're my least favorite. Still like them, still talk about them, but least favorite. Next question comes from Jeremy Kunayak. Will you guys play the new Warhammer PC game and stream it? Not me. I'm not much of a video game player or a PC player, and the Sound Alchemist only plays PlayStation, I think, and he streams PlayStation stuff. So no, probably not from us. But there's other like YouTube streamers that are pretty good. Thanks for the question, though. Next one comes from Elder Mark. Asked this before but didn't get an answer from you. With Chaos Marines, how do they restock their numbers? I'm sure over time they must get depleted. Love to hear your response. I'm new to the hobby and loving the lore. So this is a question that has been asked by multiple people, and it makes sense. The majority of the Chaos Space Marines come from 30K because they live that long. Once you give your heart and soul to the Chaos Gods and accept their Holy Spirit, you are empowered for life. It's very rare for you to, well, it's not rare for you to die, but like it's hard for you to die because you especially if you're like Nurgle, he wants you to live forever. But when that doesn't happen and there's recruitment, they have recruitment worlds, they trick other war bands, and they steal and pillage from like the Imperium and stuff like that. We actually have a 40 facts video, so if you check out our 40 facts and lore on the recruitment world of a Chaos Space Marines or of Chaos Space Marines, it'll be there. I'll put a link up above. And again, if the links don't show up, just look them up, click or search 40 facts and then like recruitment world of Chaos Space Marine or whatever I mentioned, and you'll find them there. And then let's see. It's getting kind of long. Next question comes from Wes Brown. Will you guys ever make a HeroClix video again? Probably not. I don't even remember how to play. For all those that don't know, this channel started off with like different tabletop content. So we did trading card games. So we did Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. We also did tabletop games like War Machine and Hordes, Hero Clicks, and obviously Warhammer. But Warhammer stuck. That's the one that became popular and we became a lore channel. But in the very beginning, One Mind Syndicate was just all about different tabletop games and stuff like that. Now we focus on the lore, and that's what everybody online knows us as. But no, we've been trying different things. They just don't stick. We've even done like narrative battle reports for 40K. We've done, a lot of things. But Hero Clicks is probably something that we're not going to go back to. But yeah. Oh, also D&D. We tried out D&D for a while. Also didn't stick. But those were the questions for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like or the thumbs up button to like this video. And thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.